If it weren't for music, faith, hope, and the colors of life, you would have long since been on powerful corporate psychotropics and swayed senseless by the wishes of educated doctors. The energy of life is still out of our control. Ancient civilizations had the same problem, as does modern science. No one had, and has, a monopoly on truth. So we have no particular reason to be proud of any achievements. On earth, we do not live in a state of openness of all secrets. Our support is only faith. Man lacks the necessary senses and talents to know the whole truth, about himself and the world. It seems that we will have to wait for a long time before knowledge and love begin to dance the dance of fullness. Every day we are invited by God to this ball. There is one condition. In order to participate in this ball, it is necessary to properly decorate, dress up. It must be colorful and beautiful. And this attractive attire is unconditional love. In love, one can learn all the attractive mysteries of heaven and earth, and participate in them wholeheartedly. Human life, as if to look at it, is a hard piece of bread, a cause of work and coercion from various sides. And the soul craves joy, no matter what kind. A moment of self-pleasure, fun, makes it warm, in the midst of those awful cause works, scientific, philosophical or religious. Liberation is not a bad thing. It gives a little joy, a smile, admiration. And the soul would constantly like to be in awe, because that is its curious nature. I'm paraphrasing. Hey, there. Tired of digesting inconveniences? Come to me, and I will comfort you. Jesus. I ask for a little madness. For health, thoughts and peace of heart. Time is art, time is love. It is high time for love and prosperity to overcome discontent. Suffering is artificially induced by the drunk geneticists of the cosmos, who have no desire to this day to return to eternal life, where nothing is ever missing. They prefer to experiment and create beauty mixed with tragedy and death. This should not be condoned. But what can we do when we have partially consented to it? And now we are complaining. For example, every disabled person on earth knew they would be in life. All those who died in Auschwitz knew before they were born what would befall them, the words of Padre Pio. And yet they did nothing spiritually to get out of this swamp even before they were born. Everyone who is reincarnated on earth somewhat accepts this cause of labor and exploitation through suffering caused, in a way, by love itself. If man were stronger and wiser, he would put up resistance. We all fail in this in all lives on the planets by different stars. We have a false consciousness that life on the planets is heaven. Meanwhile, this is not true. Yes, heaven has something of the planets, but it is more beautiful and peaceful there. Perfect matter. There is something of heaven on earth, Padre Pio's words. Regarding our planet, some believe that it is flat, others that it is a sphere, and still others that life is on its surface, and at the same time inside. There are also those who believe that humanity lives only inside this sphere, and that our world is concave, despite the fact that we see it convex. They claim that beyond the Earth there is only an abyss, and there are no galaxies or planets. Where is the truth? One thing for sure is that all previous civilizations have sought the truth. To us modern ones, it does likewise. But among the seekers and explorers there were also those who deliberately lied to the public. Today, it is similar. Some do it knowingly, others, not. Who, then, can be believed? In my opinion, no one can ever be believed 100%. Because in part we know, or rather, all our lives we learn to know. So the horizon of truth is very far ahead of humanity. Scientific evidence, for this or that, is imprecise and partial. In human life, emotions are unlikely to be balanced in the body. Well, see, you think something, someone upsets you, someone steps on your heel, reprimands you, someone has a different opinion, challenges it with his arguments, and you in turn challenge his views, and already emotions are born, nerves, already your heart is beating faster and even stings and wants to jump out of your chest. Isn't it all kind of strange and disharmonious? It shouldn't be like this. And yet it is taking place. Does it serve the health, the pleasure of the body? Because of stress and nerves, a woman won't even get pregnant. Let alone mystical experiences. Echo these contradictions. They turn our longings inside out. We must resist it, otherwise we will die, like a flower after blooming. It's a pity, because we have possibilities similar to God. The ancient science, nor the modern science, and this also applies to philosophy and religion, did not and does not know everything. Even the so-called mystics could understand life at a certain ceiling. Most of the truth remained hidden from them. This is probably logical. Looking at the process of our extremely narrow-minded thinking, we can deduce that the human brain is incapable of embracing omniscience, much less God. The brain is very inefficient, archaic. It would be better not to have one, because it has become a beachhead for the attack of evil. The brain is a tool of our non-development. The brain was pressed into us by other civilizations, who particularly cared about it, purely for economic gain. The rulers of the cosmos have the perfect tool of energy production to keep this fallen, scientific world alive. Every emotion, every struggle, every suffering, every curse, and the vast amount of infantile knowledge we now possess is energy for them, the masters of the cosmos, to live and survive. When we were created, including evolutionary elements, they knew exactly what they expected from this creation. And they got it. That's why I will add, almost no one gets out of this earth. Everyone comes back here, and to other similar planets. Few manage to escape from here. But it is possible. Everyone has a chance. He must want it and pray for it, to his true parents, God. The hubris and artificial beauty of the failed nature, mortal, brings us back to Earth and the galaxies. It is worth realizing this while we still have this poor quality, the brain, because despite its darkness, much depends on it. Fortunately, it is linked to freedom and soul consciousness. Although it is our crush, it tries to remember the soul as our eternal being. And this is where our victory lies. To remember our own soul and true heaven. It is necessary to not get involved in a person, but in his muse. The muse is everything in a person. It is what should be loved in him. The nature of the body and the vibration of the cells cannot satisfy the imagination of the soul. They can only, through the pleasure of the body, direct to the right goal, which is the muse of the soul, God. The human body is not a product of God. It is the result of the genetic engineering of the creator gods, the angels, those who founded the private heavens in the galaxies. God created heavenly bodies, eternally young and beautiful. They are waiting for us after we leave this. The human body is imbued with transience, it is sickly, weak. Well, and so be it, if it still can't do otherwise. In heaven, everyone belongs to everyone. Completely different concept of coexistence. That's why Jesus said, that there one does not marry, nor does one get married. Our soul is so manipulated with various overlays, including the bodily overlay, that just one word and you explode. You lose your peace and faith for a few seconds, or even longer. Sometimes one word will kill everything in you that is most beautiful and valuable for years to come. But words of love and goodness, however, do not wreak this havoc. Therefore, It is worth using only words supported by love. In life, it's all about the quants turning over in their heads, and the light understanding their addiction. Then our bodies will also get better. The soul has nothing to do with the energies and light from this galaxy. Is it difficult? Difficult to understand, as long as we live here, in this flimsy world, a pseudo-heaven, created by fallen angels. Today there are disputes on various key topics. One of them is the issue of our Earth and space. Scientists, astronomers, argue about various issues on this topic. Philosophical and theological institutes do the same. Some cite ancient transmissions, others modern research. And who is right? I believe that, in part, both know some part of the truth. But it is certainly not the whole mystery uncovered. I stick to the words of Jesus. Let me quote them again: "I have yet much to say to you, but now/you/cannot bear it. But when He, the Spirit of truth, comes, He will lead you into all truth." For me, the matter is clear. Neither modern science, nor religion, nor antiquity knows, and did not know, the whole truth. So the insistence of one and the other that they know something because they have studied it or intuitively sensed it makes no sense. One side and the other should cut each other some slack and be tolerant of science, religion and ancient writings. As I observe life, the various material civilizations in our world, because for me every other animal species is another civilization, I can clearly see that yes, we like and value these civilizations, but still, we only want to make love with humanoids. Somehow we are closest and most loving. In the galaxies it is similar. Each civilization predisposes to its shapes and loves them. That's the way it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. Scientists of higher civilizations have figured it out that way. But supposedly mythical stories talk about people with hooves, people with animal bodies. Could it be that geneticists are up to something? But that's ancient history. Dinosaurs are also a scientific misfire. Life stops hurting only when the soul frees itself from all energy and light particles, that is, temporarily and snapshot fixed in us in an artificial way. Because it is energy that hurts. The great mystery. And what doesn't hurt? True love. Beyond any hint of rudeness. She works on the principle of unconditional power. Probably that is why, only she, love, happens to be the greatest positive revolution in our world. God is not cruel and suffering serves no purpose. But, there are plenty of gods in the cosmos. Every superior angel wants to be called a god. One more thing, why is this so? Well, we all came out of heaven to see what is behind the veil. We created cosmos, private heavens. And here is the real problem. The lack of power, the lack of perpetual motion in the material worlds has tied everyone down. Hardly, despite this tragic nature and killing for energy, we do not let go. Especially those who control us do not forgive. God has nothing to do with this. He allowed freedom. Freedom has consequently caused an odyssey of development as well as suffering and even complete collapse. Hence it is so difficult for us to find harmony and heaven in the soul. It is difficult to understand. Certainly God is love, He allows everything. Otherwise He would not be God, but a tyrant. Indeed, suffering can be used for a higher purpose. Padre Pio is a great example of this. He is not the only one, likewise Francis of Assisi, and many others. We too can offer our own suffering to others as a very valuable gift. Actually, no philosophy, no spirituality or religion should interest us. Because by our very nature we are spiritual. We think, we feel, regardless of environment, education, knowledge and beliefs. All the time we live in paradise, temporarily lost, but paradise nonetheless. All we have to do is look, admire and be grateful. Here is all philosophy, here is all religion, here is all our ecstasy and love. We are making so-called progress, yes. What else can be done? One can think more about the original paradise, the fairy tale paradise, referred to by Jesus as heaven, and by Plato as the idea. What can be developed when everything is developed? What can be sought when everything is? Why worry, as we have joy at our beck and call? Why seek heaven, as you have it in your thoughts and feelings? Why strive for riches, as the whole world belongs to you? Your whole self is at your disposal. You think, feel, desire and have what you want. Not necessarily only in this world, which is unoriginal, but the soul for that you have an original one. In it you have everything right away, from the hand. And why do you need religion, atheism, why development, rules, systems? What for? They only get in the way of love and its taste. Heaven works differently in reality than our fallen reality. It needs to be discovered. Heaven is the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is heaven. It is necessary to prove it to oneself. That's why Jesus explained to all the unconvinced that heaven carries with it everywhere. Simple, uncomplicated, without views, feeling without limits, always and everywhere. The soul is love without measure or space, ready for delight at any moment. The soul, constantly in a state of openness, is sensitive to love, like a flower that feels the sun, it turns to it, opening its petals to welcome and exchange its powers of love. The soul is a focus of goodness and love, beauty and delight, beyond everything and in everything. Do not be fooled by spirituality, harsh, ascetic, radical, complicated for the mind, psyche and body, based on the knowledge sucked from the finger of various books, written under the dictates of the ego. This will be your real success of the soul and body. For this is not spirituality, but a fiction of a certain leftist, atheist ideology. This is usually the action of fallen angel lined with temporary, second-hand beauty, without the permanence of being. And usually without the sensations of alcohol, drugs, the emotions of financiers, fraud through the law and the illumination of knowledge and art. We do not make it in this world. This is what we replace for ourselves, the original existence, which is pleasure on the basis of desires and wants. Delight and delight are a difference. In physics, delight is often trampled, in heaven it is glorified. Spirituality is love, even without knowledge, although it is unavoidable in these systems of life anyway. The hardest thing, however, is to get an education in goodness and love. This is something we learn all our lives, despite the degrees, doctorates, various papers for knowledge we have earned. And love? Justification of the other. Tolerance. Understanding. Gentleness. Lack of harshness. Sharing everything with others. This university is the most difficult, but also the sweetest in sensations, and no one has to take an exam from it. Everyone knows what they want and what they aspire to. There must be so many crazy desires and aspirations until we finally gain eternity. Sometimes, when something is gnawing at you, you can't find a place for yourself, and thoughts keep going around the same and tiring, you need to break it in some way. Go for a walk, take a streetcar ride, a car ride, take it slow. In other words, get outside. This way you will cover the troublesome thoughts with other, peaceful, joyful ones. And everything will change. Sleep also does good. Too high hopes that a person makes for himself are often this type of affliction. Therefore, let's calmly, humbly and slowly carry out our plans and expectations. Nerves get in the way of everything. Pretension. Why did the sun and beautiful flowers appear in this world? To enchant us? It's a simple matter. Children right after birth still remember this scam, and repeatedly cry because of where they are. After that, it's basically sheer perversion and insinuation. Politically, it's election sausage. Cosmically, life here and now in discomfort and uncertainty of tomorrow. The noblest of works, the most valuable human effort on earth, should be love. For it alone brings the greatest benefit in everything, everything. There is nothing more beautiful and creative under heaven. As it is good, gentle, patient, listening, humble, non-aggressive, not elevating the intellect above the soul, light, and laboring with a whiff of gentleness and beauty all around. It will not kill, it will not knowingly step on an ant or other insect, it will not break a twig without a purpose, it will not step on anyone's toes, it will explain and justify everyone, it will give a hand to everyone, and as a gift it will give a smile and a gentle word to keep the flame burning. In addition, love vibrates with humor and unfunny wit. It is lyrical, picturesque, poetic, romantic. It is the music of joyful reverie and yet that to which words fade and kneel before it in awe. Life is set at an angle to make everyone fearful and anxious about their bodies and views. Hence came blind faith and hope, incorporated into positive thinking. Whatever a person does, immediately there is fear, anxiety, stress, lest something be lost, lest something be damaged or wasted. That's why you run away from danger. Animals, moreover, do the same. What is the primary reason for this? There is nothing left to do but to search persistently for the answer to this. It is said that he who seeks, finds. The more you know, the greater you are, Padre Pio's words.